Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me this morning, Hartwell. Good morning.
Good morning, Kris.
Yes,
Good morning, everyone.
mm, we have an exciting topic this week. I know that when I was studying human design, this was one of I think the first questions I even asked you was, what do all those like point one and point two and point three mean after
Mhm.
after the gate numbers, right? So
Yeah,
this is an interesting subject to dive into. So maybe you can start off by telling us what the six lines are and tell us a little bit about what we touched on before with the lines.
sure. Well, remember that one of the major inputs in human design is the I Ching. And in I Ching, you're talking about hexagrams, which means 6 lines. All right. So every gate has 6 lines. But they're located at a particular place. Are they located at the first or second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, say you have any particular gate. My son is in gate 1, and I was born when the sun was in gate 1, line 5. So, the fifth out of the sixth. So, it just means it's further along in its placement astrologically. But if it is in the fifth line, it's going to express differently than if it's in gate 1, line 1. All right. So, you might want to stop if you don't have your chart already in front of you. You might want to pause the recording if you're listening to it afterward, and get your chart so that you can see the lines. Did that answer your question, Kris?
Yes, it did. So, what are we talking about today in regards to the lines? Where are we going with this?
Oh, one of your questions was, what have we looked at this before in our
Mm-hmm.
conversation in these talks? And we have a little bit when we talked about profiles.
Mm-hmm.
This is The profile is the costume of how you live out your life. It's the major role that you or orientation that you live with. And we talked about that some.
Mm-hmm.
So that's clearly, shown on your chart. You're a 1-3 profile, I'm a 5-1. There are 12 kinds of there are 12 things in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, uh, that is the most significant exploration of the line level of things. But then we're going to look at it a little differently in a way that's really interesting today.
So, what way is that?
Well, I'm obviously very psychologically and philosophically oriented. I always have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I am always looking for the how.
Mm-hmm.
How can this be applied? I want to get to the foundation, which is interestingly because I'm very one-ish. Okay. You and I both have one in our profile, and the one is the investigator line.
Investigator. Yeah.
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 So we want to get to the bottom of things.
Mm-hmm.
But each of the lines has its own implications in terms of when we don't want to grow, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to grow, how do we combat, or what is so there's a built-in way in which we avoid, and there's built-in ways in, that the release mechanisms, I guess you could say, for those ways of avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at that today.
Mm-hmm.
And this information is kind of a lot from the Gene Keys community,
Mm-hmm.
in the way that I'm presenting it today.
All right.
So we started. I mean, if we start with the first line, it's interesting to note that these lines are in pairs. The first and second lines are body-based defense mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
So is about the one is about repression. It's about hiding. And
Mm-hmm.
so somebody who is in the grip of a strong pattern around the one in a negative sense is going to be doing a lot of hiding. All
Or
right.
running away, like, and not facing things.
Not facing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. but it has that particular flavor of repression.
Mhm.
And remember, this is at the very root of who we are. And so when the one becomes evolution oriented or seeks to overcome this, then the idea is that you turn around and you face the truth. You
Mhm.
reach for authenticity. You investigate. You dig down into the root of something,
Mhm.
and that delivers the truth. So somebody with a one can be deeply repressed and very good at hiding. If they turn that around, they can be amongst, if you have a lot of ones, you can be extraordinarily truthful and authentic.
Mhm.
So um, the second line is also in the body, but it's about denial. So you deny you even have a problem. What are you talking about? It's like a force field that says, "What are you talking about?" So
Yeah.
in interpersonal relationships, the second line is always saying, you know, get out of
Mhm.
my face.
Mhm.
It's very much deeply in denial because there's this blind spot to it.
Mhm. Denying that there's even a problem in the first place.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
really don't see it. And even an aware to is still not going to see it.
Mhm.
They have to become open.
Mhm.
They have to become open to they have to relax and let go of their defensiveness in
Mhm.
order that they can let in or conceive of the idea that they might have been in denial.
Mhm.
And when they relax into themselves, there can be this beauty because the second line is about naturalness and talent. It is
Mhm.
about unconsciousness. And
Mhm.
when you're a genius, you're also unconscious. Geniuses don't know how they're doing what they're doing. So the second line can have this off putting, irritating denial energy, but they
Mhm.
can also be incredibly lovely to be around.
Mhm.
So it's about relaxing into the body. The third and fourth line are all about emotional blockages.
Mhm.
So interestingly, they have that in common. And the third line is the one that runs away more so than the one, Chris.
Mhm.
There's this sense of um, there's this tendency to run away anytime there's confrontation. These are the great avoiders of the life. These are the ones that, have a shame-based consciousness. And because of the shame, they don't want to deal with the shame, so they run away. They lie. Um, so for them, there's this underlying shame. They feel like they're wrong. They feel like they are, on an energetic, emotional level, that they are not good enough. And
Mhm.
so they run away.
Mhm.
And so when they turn to face their life and the damage that comes out of running away, the thing for them to do is to laugh. Because
I'm laughing because that's what I do. Like, I'll just laugh about it. Yeah.
laughter undermines the shame, right? It
Mhm.
pricks the bubble of that self-importance that has us feel like take us ourselves so seriously.
Mhm.
Um, and you do have a 3 in one of your key places, and of course it's part of your profile.
Mhm.
So the idea is to laugh, not take yourself so seriously, because laughing undermines that shame orientation. Now the four is related to the heart, and it is all about rejection. So the four is sensitive. They feel easily rejected, and they do a lot of rejecting themselves.
Mhm.
So when they get hurt, what they do is they reject. They go icy cold on you.
Mhm.
And it can turn on a dime. If they feel rejected, hurt can turn love to hate in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
So when they are open, when they are facing their life, they can be incredibly open. You just want to melt in their presence. There's
Mhm.
this sense of melting, and your heart opens when they're open. But of course, if they are feeling rejected, they might in a sense do the rejecting. And so, it's very, very cold.
Hmm.
Um, so their way of facing their own pain and the pain of their own rejection is to soften, is to be willing to be vulnerable, is to
Hmm.
kind of breathe into it and soften and accept where they are first of all. I wonder if Byron Katie had a strong four, that the energy of accepting things as they are.
Yeah, it's funny because as we're going through these, you can almost like take somebody in your life, for example, and almost guess where they fall, like whether they have a lot of line twos or a lot of line threes, that tends to be, a
Yeah.
theme in their life. Because as we're going through here, I can see, oh, well, yeah, very much my ex-husband was a denial person. Like even when
Mm,
it was right in front of him, he would deny it, right?
yeah.
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 Hmm. So I can see
Hmm.
other people as we're going through this, not only myself, but others, right? Which
And
is
that's the
helpful.
Yes, and that's the brilliance of this,
Hmm.
is because if we understand where people are operating from, we can, in a sense, help them as well. You
Hmm.
know, if you are in, if you choose to be in the energy that is, in a sense, your positive energy of your own defense patterns, then you induct other people into that opening and that opening energy as well.
Right.
Now, if we go on to the fifth and sixth line, these are mentally based defense patterns.
Hmm.
And the five is related to guilt.
Hmm.
Um, and that guilt, causes them to tell stories, to lie. They're the ones that, oh my God, this feels really delusionary to me. It's like, what kind of spin are you putting on this? But
Hmm.
if they have that deep feeling of guilt, then they don't know how to break through that cycle, then they weave a web of
Hmm.
self delusion and lying and avoiding the truth, and it's all fueled out of it's all fueled out of a pattern that has at its heart a kind of guilt to it.
Hmm.
um, and they get caught in their own lies. You see, when we're all in our delusive patterns, we're caught in our own pattern.
Hmm.
But then, if that that spark of wanting to be aware wakes up, then we challenge that. For the five, the only way to cut through the lies is to forgive themselves. Forgiveness is the great thing that loosens up and allows them to emerge from the lies and stop spinning, 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 spinning. More tales, more half truths, more lies, more self delusions. It's like to say, okay, challenge the guilt. The only thing that challenges the guilt is forgiveness.
Hmm.
Um, so, with a five, if somebody has a five strong pattern around you, it's very hard to kind of penetrate through their lies and their half truths and their delusive pattern, because you can feel it. You can feel how
Hmm.
you get caught in it.
Hmm.
So the sixth line is all about checking out. You know, the the sixes feel above it all. They often feel elitist. They feel like the world, there's a contemptuousness about the six as a pattern. It's always other people that are wrong. They blame the world. They blame other people.
Hmm.
And if you talk to them about something, oh, they already know the answer.
Hmm.
So they don't even listen to you. It's like they always know more than you do.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if the fifth, five, and the six are probably um, responsible for this increased awareness of gaslighting patterns in society.
Right.
because it's a mental weaving, and it's like if the 6 is going to do its aloof game, it's blaming the world thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's an impenetrable mental pattern.
Mm-hmm.
To break free from that, they have to choose to stop being so mentally checked out. They have to choose to believe in something, choose to believe in the world, choose to believe that there are people worth connecting to. So they have to come back, from living their hot air balloon life and kind of bring themselves back into their body, back into reality, choose to believe that there's something worth living for,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they can be so mentally checked out that they're
Mm-hmm.
unreachable.
Yeah, I get
So,
it.
yeah.
So then when we look at the lines, the thing that comes to me, so in each individual expression, whether on the personality side or the design side, there's a line number. But
Yes.
also you have your overlying theme. So you have more threes and fives than you do ones and fours. But
Right. And so I suggest, that's a good way of kind of looking at your chart is to take your chart and make a list and say, how many ones do I have? How many twos? How many threes? How many fours? And then you can start to get a sense of, okay, this pattern, you look at your profile number first, those are important, and look at your list. Where do you have, is there a predominance of lines? If you have 5 or 6, that's average.
mhm,
If you have more than 6, that becomes quite significant, or less than 4.
mhm,
So and the other thing too is that human design talks about what they call the Venus sequence, and they point to the importance of 4 placements. One being the design Mars, and I like to look at that, which is our core wound. It's kind of like why we're here. We're in this journey to reunite with God, and that would be the last hurdle to face is the line related to your core wound, which is your design Mars. So that's where I like to look. And I encourage everyone to look at the Gene Keys material. But so, what do you remember? What your core wound is, Kris?
yeah, it's stillness 52.
Well, that is the gate. Do you remember what the line is?
No.
The line is 4 for you.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Do you feel the 4 strongly as one of your defense patterns? A rejection, open, closed heart rejection pattern?
Oh, yeah. When I'm hurt, I close off, and when I'm not, I'm like an open door, which is why I turn into a doormat sometimes. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. No, it's like that whole easy to become codependent, and then when you realize you're codependent, then it's easy to swing to the other side and become very hardened and bitter, right?
yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, it takes discipline and awareness to want to live in the world with an open heart.
Hmm.
So for any of us to uh, to feel the to feel the energy of our own openness takes awareness and takes attention.
Hmm.
So I mean, I have a lot of ones, for instance. I have like 10 ones. You and I are both very one-ish. I think you have 9 and I have 10 or 11.
Hmm.
So I mean, it takes discipline to be authentic,
Hmm.
to not want to hide. Um, so any of them takes awareness if we want to live in the energy that will, in a sense, unwind us. It will unwind our wound so that we can live in the world in a more open way.
Hmm. I wonder if the one is like the shape shifting energy too, when you're saying to be authentic, because we're shapeshifters. So if we have a lot of
Mm,
ones and we're able to step in and out all the time, right? I just a question. I don't know.
that's
Just
an
comes to me.
interesting question. I'll have to think about that. Hmm.
So, is there?
Um,
Go ahead.
no, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to wrap things up and say, was there anything else you wanted to add before we end the show?
Well, you might notice people who have been watching me for a while. It's like, oh, sometimes it's hard to shut up. Sometimes it's hard to stop once you get going, right? And
Mhm.
that's the nature of the one. It's like you always want to
Mhm.
investigate and dig more. And it's like just giving you guys a little bit, because I mean,
Mhm.
obviously you can go way deep into these subjects. It's a little bit hard for me because I have so much one. It's like I kind of want to I want to keep investigating.
Mhm.
So the thing I would say today is that um, understanding that we are all in this together, we all have our own particular defense patterns, but there is a way out, and there's a way forward, and there's a way to freedom. Um, but we're all sharing these same dynamics, however it is that they show up in us. So we all have ways of avoiding, hiding, sitting in our woundedness, and we all have ways that offer us a route to freedom.
Right. That's what we're all striving for, liberation and freedom, right? So, well, thank you for the enlightenment. If anybody wants to dive deeper into the charts, Hartwell's always here at Clarity, and you can give us a call and book an appointment with him. It's such a blessing to be able to dive into human design and to learn, and we're so blessed that you're here to do that with us. So, thank you. Speaking of Thanksgiving, and hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So, with that, we'll say God bless, take care, and we'll see you next Wednesday.